Welcome back to Radiant Timeless Legends. Today, we'll uncover a few fascinating facts about the legendary figure, Guru Dronacharya. Guru Dronacharya is a name that resonates deeply in the hearts of those familiar with Indian epics, particularly the Mahabharata. Revered as the ultimate teacher and warrior, his legacy is vast, his influence monumental. Guru Dronacharya was born to sage Bharadwaja, making him a part of an illustrious lineage of great rishis. His name, Drona, means pot-born, as he was born in a vessel rather than a womb, through divine intervention. As a young student, Dronacharya formed a deep friendship with Prince Drupada. Both trained together and made a promise to share each other's fortunes in the future. But as fate would have it, when Drona sought help from Drupada in his later years, the king insulted him, triggering a rivalry that would change the course of their lives. Dronacharya was a master of warfare and weaponry. He received his military education from none other than Lord Parashurama, the sixth avatar of Vishnu. Dronacharya is best known as the royal teacher of the Kuru dynasty. He trained both the Pandavas and Kauravas in the art of warfare, creating some of the most powerful warriors of the era. Drona's most famous disciple was undoubtedly Arjuna. The bond between the two was so strong that Drona even promised to make Arjuna the greatest archer in the world. Dronacharya's rigorous training led Arjuna to achieve feats no other archer could, cementing his place in history as a warrior par excellence. Another well-known disciple of Dronacharya was Ekalavya, a tribal prince who idolized Drona from afar. Though Drona never formally accepted Ekalavya as his student, Ekalavya's devotion was unmatched. Ekalavya's mastery of archery alarmed Dronacharya, who feared that Ekalavya might surpass Arjuna. In a controversial move, Drona asked for Ekalavya's thumb as Guru Dakshina, a payment to ensure Arjuna's supremacy. As a duty-bound teacher, Dronacharya had to fight for the Kauravas in the great Kurukshetra war, despite his affection for the Pandavas. Drona was appointed as the commander-in-chief of the Kaurava army after the fall of Bhishma, a role that showcased his unmatched strategic skills. One of the darker episodes of Drona's life was his indirect involvement in the death of Abhimanyu, the valiant son of Arjuna, who was trapped in the Chakravyuha, a complex battle formation. Drona was nearly invincible on the battlefield, but his weakness was his love for his son, Ashwathama. During the war, Yudhishthira, known for his truthfulness, was tricked into lying that Ashwathama was dead. Hearing this, a grief-stricken Drona gave up his weapons, leading to his eventual demise. Dronacharya's legacy transcends his role in the Mahabharata. He is considered the ultimate guru, symbolizing both knowledge and the moral complexities of life. According to some texts, Dronacharya was not just skilled in weaponry, but also in the Vedas and ancient scriptures, making him a well-rounded scholar. Dronacharya had a special connection with the divine. It is said that he was blessed with celestial weapons, which he rarely used but taught his students how to wield. Drona's bond with his son Ashwathama was deep, and Ashwathama later became a key figure in the final phases of the Mahabharata, continuing his father's legacy. Despite his moral flaws and controversial decisions, Guru Dronacharya remains one of the most revered figures in Indian history, symbolizing the complex nature of duty, loyalty, and morality. Today, the highest award in Indian sports, the Dronacharya Award, is named after him, honoring exceptional coaches. Guru Dronacharya was more than just a teacher. He was a warrior, a father, a strategist, and a symbol of the timeless complexities of Dharma. His story, immortalized in the Mahabharata, continues to inspire and provoke thought even today. The legends of old never fade. They are the stories of our past, the wisdom of our ancestors, and the timeless tales that guide our future. Join us on this journey as we unravel the mysteries of radiant timeless legends. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with the stories that continue to inspire and enlighten. Stay legendary. Stay radiant.